Hello, everyone, and welcome to the UPTOWN Collective. A community that honors and embodies the whole artist, mind, body, and spirit. Underlining the values of creativity, community, support, and authenticity, the UPTOWN Collective brings conversations to you, classes and resources that help you in your career, opportunities for mentorship, and to produce and direct your original work. Welcome, ladies. Today, we are going to be having a conversation about the artist and the pandemic. But before we do that, I want to introduce my sister friends over here who are wonderful, and they are also the founding collectors of the collective.
Renika Williams is a New York-based actor originally from Dayton, Ohio. She recently made her off-Broadway debut in All the Natalie Portmans by C.A. Johnson at MCC Theater. Off-Broadway, she's done The Climb, Sweet. At the Select Regional Theater, she did the world premiere of Dominique Morisseau's Motero, Pipeline, Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye, Antigone, and A Raisin in the Sun. Her television includes Modern Love Season 2 on Amazon Prime. Check it out. And she has her BFA in acting from Wright State University. Kimberly Walker is an actor who also writes, directs, produces, and models. From Mary, the ambitious and passionate Queen of Scots and Mary Stuart, to LT, the volatile commander in The Year of the Monkey, Kimberly brings something unexpected to her characters. She originated roles in Could This Meeting Have Been an Email? And Bone Setter, a tragic slasher with indie feminist company Spicy Witch Productions, and Come Back to Me and Manicado, which both premiered at the Cary Fringe Festival in Nassau, Bahamas. With a BFA in acting from Ithaca College, she's continued studying at the Barrow Group School, Stella Adler Studio, and Black Arts Institutes, where she trained exclusively with fellow Black actors and instructors. Erin Cherry received her MFA in acting from Rutgers Mason's Gross School of the Arts. She is a producer and an Emmy Award winner for Best Supporting Actress for the role of Brenda on the Emmy Award-winning hit show After Forever on Amazon Prime. Check it out. We said Emmy a lot of times. She has appeared in theaters across the country, including Manhattan Theater Club, the Guthrie Theater, Hartford Stage, Denver Center, New York Stage and Film, and more. As a producer, Cherry has created her own show called Sundays with a Cherry on Top, which is a talk show that is geared towards shining a light on hidden gems within Black culture. She is also the executive director of Now Africa Playwrights Festival, which was organized to illuminate dramatic African literature and explore and excavate African artists in theater. Cherry is also a private acting coach and acting teacher at Maggie Flanagan Studio here in New York City. Now, as we know, the pandemic has affected everyone. There's been nobody who has not been impacted by it. But I think that often we don't have enough conversation about how the pandemic has affected artists. If you've read the statistics, you know that the entertainment and recreation industry was hit the hardest with unemployment. Many people being unemployed for the first time. And so really we wanted to have a conversation today about artists and the effects of the pandemic, your grieving process, and the ways in which you are finding to cope in the meantime. I don't think often enough we ask, how are you doing? So I want to ask, as individuals, as women who are actors full time, how are you doing?
It's up and down. I give myself a lot of time to cry and grieve what's happening, because I feel like a lot of us artists have not allowed ourselves to just really be okay with, okay, something that's happened that's not our fault. I'm in a lot of pain because of it, and I just want to grieve. And I feel like that's an important step for myself. And so a lot of grieving over it. But I'm still standing. I'm still, trudging along. But just to get it out, because I don't want to hold it in.
I agree. It's up and down, definitely. Grief comes in stages and in waves, and some months have been a lot heavier than others. One thing that I did that was long overdue, if I'm perfectly honest, was I realized that the depression that I've dealt with for the last few years had intensified to a point where I just needed help that I didn't have. And I started on antidepressants last month. That has helped me get to a place where I can conceive of planning, where I can conceive of a future that is not like this anymore. I've always known that it existed beyond what this space is in 2020, 2021, but it was hard to think of actionable steps that would matter at all. But that it's been very helpful to know that God's grace is sufficient, but sometimes you need additional help.
Yes.
And there's no shame in that.
Absolutely.
I think for me, it took a second to realize that I was in pain. At first, I was doing a lot of resting. I was like, oh, this will be over in like 3 weeks. Like, it's fine. Everybody's going to stay at home. But then when I lost my second job, so I was supposed to start another off-Broadway production in the summer. And when they said that that was done, I was like, wait a second. I just lost another opportunity that I felt like was going to elevate my career that has been taken away from me. And just missing the fellowship of theater specifically, it's been really hard. And auditioning for TV and film has actually felt really lonely for me. It's been really difficult to lose something that was such a big part of my creativity and now just be in my room with a camera and that be it. So it's definitely like a moment of adjustment for me. Lots of therapy, lots of yoga, lots of cycling in my room, just to pour back into myself and give to myself while I grieve theater specifically. Yeah.
And I think that's so important, especially because we're based in New York, where we had Broadway and all these different things. It's like some of the spirit of New York is literally not here right now. And you go places where it's like a ghost town now. And I don't know that we talk enough about the grieving process. We think of it sometimes as losing a physical person, but this is it's like a death in some ways, and how you kind of come back from that. So thank you for your vulnerability with that. And I'm wondering along those lines, is a lot of pressure. You see it all over social media, and internally that artists are feeling to produce and create in the midst of a pandemic. So I'm wondering how you're dealing with that pressure. Do you as an artist feel compelled to create in such difficult times?
In the beginning, I did. I saw posts everywhere by the time this is over, you should have that book written and you should be here, there, whatever. And I was like, okay. But now I'm like, no. If I feel like I can, I will. I feel like if God places that on my spirit to do, then I will. But I've been trying to say yes to rest and trying to not compare myself to what other people are doing. That was always hard for me with social media. Even before the pandemic, I would often see people on social media and feel like, oh my goodness, how did that opportunity pass me by? Or why can't I be in that room? And I feel like the pandemic kind of has elevated that or exacerbated that. I don't know if I said that word right. But now I've been trying to limit myself because I do feel pressure, and taking that pressure off has actually inspired me more to be creative, and it comes when it comes.
Yeah, to your point, as a teacher, acting teacher, and a private coach, a lot of my students have been feeling, and including myself at the beginning, of at the time you think it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks, you don't know what's going to happen. And then you start to see months and weeks start to go. And the pressure of social media, feeling like you have to live up to what you see and not comparing yourself, has been one of the number one things that my students talk about. And I reassure them, because at the same time I'm reassuring myself, that once this is over, once we're through the pandemic, that if you don't have that Oscar or that EGOT, or if you don't have that book deal, or if you don't have that movie deal, that it's okay. Where you are is where you are and where you're supposed to be. And giving yourself a lot of love, grieving the process, really taking care of yourself is going to help with your art and inform your art. And so if you're really running behind trying to put pressure on yourself to be somewhere that you don't feel ready for, it's just going to defeat the purpose. So putting yourself first, not feeling the pressure to live up to something that you may not be ready to live up to. And also too, getting rid of the guilt, right? We have a lot of guilt. And when this pandemic's over and Biden says, okay, everybody mask off and live your life, and you look back and you feel like you're not where you're supposed to be, that's not the outcome I want for myself or for my students. It's like, I just really want you to do, to your point, where you're feeling where your flow is and being called to do. So just do things for yourself. Don't try to do things for other people, and don't try to be discovered, because there's a lot of people getting discovered right now. But if that's not your path, that's not your path, and be okay with that.
I have definitely felt that pressure. And at first, to be honest, I said, this is ridiculous. I shouldn't feel like that. That's madness. You know, when you'd see on Facebook or Twitter, Shakespeare wrote King Lear during the plague. You know, so what's your King Lear? And it's like, how dare you come for me like this? People are dying. Right. And literally living in the knowledge that there are thousands of people dying every single day. I can't just turn that off and then just say, oh, well, all right, I'm still going to write my 40 pages or whatever it is today. So I have acted, I have written and produced some at this point, but it's like, what is bringing me joy? What do I need to express? What is a skill that I need to work on? But giving myself a lot of grace and patience to know the difference between when I need to push myself, when I need to nudge myself, and when I need to just let myself be. And a gift of, it's weird to phrase it this way, but the gift of all of this time that I have had, it's been about the inner work. Mm-hmm. There's so much to work on in here and in here that's been most of the focus, truly, is how do I want to be different? How do I want to have grown on the other side of this, rather than what have I booked? And yes, that's important in a way, but it's not important all the time.
I think that we have to do the inner work in order to be ready to receive the external.
Yes.
That's what I believe. I feel like there are things that God has planned for us that we may not be ready for until we have some stillness and really do the hard work and look at ourselves. So I agree.
And as a pastor, I agree too. Yeah, the inner work is very key. And again, there is that pressure. I know as being an emerging screenwriter, it's like, and you don't live in LA, you better take this time now while they're doing stuff on Zoom, because when this is over, you'll have to, and so there's always this pressure to kind of, fit in where you can. But as you all are saying, creativity doesn't even work like that. Creativity is even built on having moments of solitude and silence and being able to step away. And even as we're bringing faith into it, if even God rested on the seventh day, like we got to rest too, and not always feel like we have to do things. Talking about, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Well, that's one way to get you there sooner, because we need to rest and we need to take that time. But to that point, then, if you do want to work, right? Some people, this is a moment for them where they have freedom that they didn't have. Not me, my kids are at home all the time. But for those who want to work or perform during that time, how are you navigating the industry as it currently stands?
As the navigating part for me has been very key, because allowing myself to use my power of yes and my power of no, and really going in, like we're talking about the inner work, and really mapping out for myself what kind of artist do I want to be, and how do I want to present myself on screen or on stage, and how, when I'm Cicely Tyson's age, amen, I look back and I look at the canon of my work. What do I want that to look like? And so not rushing into projects, saying no a lot, giving myself that rest time, and picking and choosing when I want to work and taking control of what I want to do, so it can eliminate some of that pressure. I don't want to say yes to everything just to work because of the pressures of you should be doing A, B, C, D. It's like, no, you know what? I'm going to take this time to really define for myself how I want my career to go.
I think I was super anxious like the first few months, because pre-pandemic, my goal was to find new representation. Like, I was unhappy with my representation at the time. And so when the pandemic hit, I was just like, this is going to be nearly impossible now. Like, I have nothing to showcase. So for anybody who wants to work, every journey is different. I just started finding emails, reaching out to other actors that I know, directors that I know. Do you know this casting director's email? And I started reaching out, and I took meetings like every week with casting directors that I didn't know. And I literally just asked them, like, who are your favorite agents or managers to work with? And thankfully, it got me a new manager. And so then it went into saying yes to everything. I have a new manager. I'm saying yes to every audition. And I was exhausted and realizing that's not what I want from myself. Like you, it's just like these roles don't feel like they're in line with the trajectory that I want my career to go in. Wanting to be specific and selective, I started to use my power of no. And I actually feel like a huge weight is lifted. I don't have to say yes to everything just because someone has signed me. You know, I'm not trying to appease you. I'm trying to be in line with like what I want to do creatively. So I think there are ways during the pandemic to make it happen. If you do want to work, there are ways. People, they're sitting at home, and I think they're more likely to say yes. If you say like, hey, can you give me a referral so I can meet this person? They're at home. Meet you on Zoom, you know? I say go for it if you want to.
This is not a direct answer to your question, but just what you all shared then, thinking about, you know, being, oh my gosh, Queen Cicely, being Cicely Tyson's age and looking back and thinking about, like you said, the canon of your work and the power of no, and how being selective and intentional is so important. Oh my gosh. Because I'll be honest, sometimes I am, oh, that kind of works. That fits. I should do that. I should do that. No, I don't want to say those words. I don't want to work with that person. I don't want to do that. And I don't have to do that because it's not a race. I mean, I would like to be a grandma. Well, should be mother first. Well, a wife, whatever. We'll get there. It comes in stages. But what I'm saying is I want to be proud of the work that I have done. And I don't want to ever I don't want to make fear-based decisions and thinking from a place of lack that I have to say yes to every little thing, because that's not me standing in my power and in faith. Mm-hmm. So again, that goes back to the inner work. Does this align? Mm-hmm. Does this align with where I want to go? If it doesn't, okay. I believe that something else will.
And to your point, I think the inner work, I think sometimes we don't think about how much it takes to do that growth. You ever walk around and you're like, I'm just tired. And they're like, well, what for? Because that inner work and working on yourself and building and growing, going to the therapy, grieving and doing all these things, it is exhausting. It is exhausting. And so I'm wondering, Renika, you mentioned, I'm cycling in the house, or I'm doing these different things to take care of yourself. I'm wondering about the different ways you are taking care of you during this time. We heard you lift up therapy and these different things, but how are you taking care of you during this time?
I don't have a bike at my house, but I do work out. I feel like that's been very important for me. And it is a blessing to be able to work out with my trainer on Zoom and doing that. And just really check in with my eating habits. And I'm already a health nut, but then, just making sure that my body is staying, strong and my immune system, because of we're in the middle of this pandemic. And just giving myself, how do I say this? Not feeling guilty when I don't want to get out of bed, right? Because we're so trained to just go, 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 go. Just as a country, other countries, they rest, they have times off, they don't work 40 hours a week, all that stuff, right? But America is America, right? And that's the way our country is made. And, and I have to really allow myself to not feel guilty when I am like, I'm going to stay in bed and not get out for another 3 hours. I mean, where am I going to go? Nothing's open. We're in the middle of a pandemic. And one thing I learned once everything started to shut down in our industry and restaurants and everything, that I was still hustling like the New Yorker, right? I was still hustling. And then I would have to literally stop myself and like, Cherry, where are you going? You're just going to CVS. Like, what's the rush? You have no place to be. You have no audition to go to. You're teaching online. Your studio's closed down. Why are you rushing? And I spent so many of the first weeks slowing down my pace and working on not feeling guilty about it.
I feel you on slowing down your pace because I am my last name is Walker, and some of my friends tease me about that, like living up to that last name, because it's like I don't have to run practically. I'm not running. I'm just walking fast. But yeah, that idea, it's like, stop, breathe, just like be here. Oh my goodness. For me, yeah, Zoom workouts and YouTube workouts. Thank God for trainers who put things on YouTube, because baby needs these endorphins. And also, I have a sweet tooth, so I need to exercise. 2, coloring. Beautiful adult coloring books with gorgeous flowers and things like that. You can get into a meditative state coloring. Being very transparent with good friends when I do not have the bandwidth, when they need to vent about something. I want to be there, but sometimes I'm like, I'm not there. I love you, but let me holler at you tomorrow. And that is, I never used to do that. If somebody needed to talk to me, it didn't matter how I felt. I was going to go ahead and be there. And just honoring the fact that I want to be present with them, and I have to be present with myself first and not be a hypocrite. So being very specific about what kind of energy I can release into another person, into another situation, and eating well. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm so grateful. I love vegetables and fruit and all of that, because it just makes such a difference. Oh, we'll get there. Oh, we're going to get there. It makes such a difference. But also comedies, watching shows that never occurred to me before. Like 4 friends said, have you seen What We Do in the Shadows? And I was like, I don't want to watch that. It's hilarious. So just, and Schitt's Creek. My gosh.
I have not seen that show yet. It's on my list. I haven't seen it yet.
It's really good.
It's really good. And yes.
I've been watching old school stuff. I've been watching old school stuff. Like I just binge watched The Jeffersons and Good Times.
Oh, you went old school. I thought you was about to say Moesha and Sister. Okay, I just started Girlfriends. It's really toxic. Just letting y'all know.
Yes. And Insecure. I started watching Insecure again. Love it.
Oh
yeah. And I think that's important. Like you're talking about the self-care and things, because Lord, my kids will find me in the bathroom. Like literally, there is nowhere you can go. There's nowhere God can go. There's nowhere where you could go where your twins won't find you. And so I got a Peloton bike, refurbished. Don't like after I paid off all my school loans. So don't judge me like, oh, she got a Peloton. No, but I found that randomly it'll be a happy, and I'm on the Peloton crying like, oh God, yes, like. But it was so cathartic. Like there was just something about like needing to release that in the midst. I don't think sometimes we realize how stressed we are, not just as artists, whether full time, part time, or whatever we're doing, but also just as Black folks in this country. As women, all of the things that we've had to hold, that we've been holding our entire lives, but that other people are finally, catching on to, that we're fully holding. And it's just, sometimes it is a lot. And you don't even realize, you're so busy going. And then you just realize like, oh, I'm eating these Twinkies, not a fruit. I'm, crying. Why is this happening? And why am I experiencing, and allowing yourself to feel whatever you want to feel in the moment. And I know one of the things, like working on that vulnerability and knowing that is okay. And I think that's why this collective is important too, because it's about the whole artist, not just about how good your work is, not just about, but are you okay? It makes no sense to make good art and then not be okay at the end of it.
I can't tell you how many times I'll just walk around my apartment and I'll go from the bathroom to the kitchen to get something and I'll just start crying.
It's also, that reminds me of like those of us who were grieving before the pandemic, when life was happening, before life happened to everybody at the same time. It comes out, and yes, it is awful and devastating, the lives that have been lost. But this time has allowed so many of us to actually breathe and let out what we've been holding, like you said. And I think it will make artists better. There was a 6-week period where I had to redo every self-tape because it was just trash. Like, I was just trash. But it was because I was blocked. I wasn't releasing enough. I wasn't resting enough. And I think that is important for us to keep doing our work, to keep writing, to keep doing auditions. Like, it takes a release in order for us to be full humans. We have to acknowledge what we're going through.
In therapy, listen.
I'm pro therapy, so
I am
pro therapy.
super pro, and we didn't grow up like that. Some of us, like our mothers, our parents, our fathers, our grandparents, they weren't always about that, right? About therapy. And listen, she been getting the copay from me for every 2 to 3 weeks for some years because it's necessary and it's needed. And I don't think that we sometimes talk about that enough in our mental health and how, sometimes it's been demonized, but I am grateful. I won't even share. I don't even want to share my therapist anymore because she got real booked. I'm like, I can't even get an appointment because I've referred you to so many people. But I just think that it's super key that if you are able, right, we want to, if you are able to find that help, to be able to talk to somebody and have that outlet to kind of just not be judged and to kind of work through, and someone who can help you process what you are experiencing to help you grow. Mm-hmm. And with that comes to community, right? And a lot of you have kind of mentioned this notion of, artists, it's so communal, especially theater and these things, it's super, super communal. So I'm wondering, with everyone kind of remaining mostly separate, what systems of support and accountability have you implemented?
Am I the first one picking up the mic? Okay,
because you won an Emmy award.
The brightest
because you got an Emmy.
You are the brightest one on the stage.
I'm like,
so you're picking it up
right.
first.
And I was processing, Sherry. I was processing.
I'm inching towards the mic to see who's going, but it's always me, right? Okay. I love us, and I love us, Black people, us. I love us, and just being part of the Uptown Collective. It's an answered prayer. Yeah, I could say so much about that, but yes, I love the fact that you guys have been family with just the conversations we've had and what we're having now. Therapy, definitely. Just girl hangouts on Zoom, even though I get tired of Zoom. But sometimes that Zoom with the, can I say I drink a glass of wine in the Zoom? We in the church, I'm just saying. Jesus turned wine into wine, but I don't want people to think I'm a wino. But I'm just saying, the Zooms with the girls and the wine, and just knowing who's in your tribe and reaching out, like you were saying earlier, how friends reach out to you, knowing who's in your corner and reaching out. And if you need to vent, just to have someone to be a sponge.
I've gotten back to phone conversations. And for years, the only people I could talk to on the phone, it was my parents, because I'm like, text me or let's just have a drink or have some tea or something. I don't want to talk on the phone. I've been on the phone for hours with some friends, and it doesn't make me tired. I'm not bored. Maybe I'm walking around my apartment. I'm like, let me get these steps in while we're reconnecting. But talking, having actual conversations of depth, whether it's phone, FaceTime, Zoom. There are some friends that have seen me snot cry on Zoom, and having, those conversations that you think are going to be like 45 minutes. And you're like, we've been talking for 4 hours. How is that even possible? But also getting into accountability. Like, one of my good friends and I are accountability partners. We started it this month. And keep that going. I'm a new member of a writers group. That's something I've been wanting to do for years. That's another form of accountability and support. So, like you said, Erin, finding your Cherry. I'm sorry.
Okay, so for those of you guys, okay, say I'm a little salty at her. I'm salty at her right now.
I'm sorry.
So my name is Erin Cherry, as it was said in my bio. but I go by my last name, Cherry. And then so she done slipped out my first name, but everybody please call me Cherry. But I'm going to talk to her after. I'm going to talk to her. We're going to have a conversation.
That one time. I'm sorry, Cherry.
Okay, so I'm with y'all. I am. I'm with y'all with the support and the community and the fellowship. I promise I'm with y'all. But I have crossed over to something called boundaries.
God bless healthy
Amen.
boundaries.
Amen.
Listen, because I've been on the phone for the whole pandemic, I will say. And I'm sick of Zoom, I will say. But boundaries have been like a saving grace for me. And I love when people call me and say, are you in the space right now? Because I have something that I need to speak to you about. And I can say no. I can say, actually, not right now. Can I call you in 2 hours? Because it can be exhausting. But to know that you have a true support system, they will respect that. And that's what I have found. I've always known I had a really great support system with friends and family. But this has just really confirmed that for me because they respect when I'm like, nah, I'm trying to take a nap, player. Like, you know what I'm saying? I need to rest. I'm exhausted. This right now, the world, politics, all these things is exhausting. So I would add that boundaries is important with our community.
Yes. I wholeheartedly agree. And anyone who knows me well would definitely know if I'm on the phone with you for 4 hours, it's because I want to be on the phone with you for 4 hours. So no, I talk to whomever is in your tribe. But again, yeah, with me, it's friends saying, do you have the bandwidth for this? Mm-hmm. Is this a good day for that? And I love that. I appreciate that more than I can articulate because that hasn't always been the case. Some people just assume because if you exude strength or confidence or being capable, then it's like, oh, you can take this, right? Like you're carrying all this other stuff, but you're strong, so you can do it, right? And that's not an assumption being made by folks in my circle. And I love that. And I ask that question too before I unload. It's important. People have to learn that. But yes, Kimberly Walker loves a healthy boundary.
And it's important. And it's also important for us to understand that we are not responsible for whether or not people accept our boundaries, right? And vice versa, right? So sometimes we want people to accept the boundary. No, it's our job to articulate it. And then they have to do whatever they have to do with it. But we have to set a clear boundary and letting people know that and understanding that like no is a complete sentence. Yes. Sometimes we want to say no, but A, B, C, D, because we want someone to accept what we're saying and we don't want to be rejected. But the reality is the no is the no. Yeah. It's a no sometimes. And I don't have to necessarily explain why I don't want to do this, why I can't, why I don't have the bandwidth. I might as well do the thing by the time I explain to you why I can't do the thing. Right. You know, so we have to be able to say no. And I think something else that you're pointing out is sometimes that if you don't have, some people might be sitting here and saying, I don't have a tribe. I don't have that. You can create that. You can create that. I remember, and I was telling you ladies how I wanted to be a part of a writers group, but a lot of some of the Zoom rules were like, you can't get up off the Zoom, you know, but for 5 minutes, you can't turn your camera off. And if you get up and you do more than pee, we're going to kick you out the group. And I'm like, I've got 2 small children who don't respect boundaries. And are going to run in everywhere. And I can't do this in this way. And these times don't work because they have remote learning. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to step out on a limb and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to start my own writing group. And so in September, did that with some folk that I know. You can come, Kimberly. I mean, you already found a different one. I didn't know you were in search of one, but but did that. And it's been amazing. It's been about more than writing, but it's been another level of accountability. And it's been super helpful to meet with these other women every week. And we've reached goals. People are like, we wouldn't have been able to do this, but it's also been about the camaraderie and the support that we have. And so I say that to say that anybody, if you don't have it, build it and they will come and the right people will be in your space if it's necessary. And I think this has been a phenomenal first conversation. And I want to know if you all have any final thoughts or things that you want to share with those who are watching and joining us today.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. You see, Cherry, I got it. I'm just like, this is something that was said on a Zoom many, many months ago, how the comparison trap is easy for everybody, but often creatives are very susceptible to it. And another Black woman who is an actor pointed out, you know, for some of us that were measuring our success by our colleagues and friends' success, think of what it did to have no one be working, to have no one have that kind of status. What are you working on? What are you in? What did you just book? Nothing. Because we can't do this right now. I say all of that to say that, as trite as it sounds, our job is to be, to evolve, to grow, to learn. Yes, there are things that we need to birth, create, and do, but one of the lessons for me of this year is not defining myself by what I do, because that's a real slippery slope. And if you do define yourself that way and it's taken away from you, then you might have some kind of crisis. And so what a good friend and I call that critical self-reflection, that's part of that inner work I was talking about. Know wherever you are, that's where you are. And you don't have to beat yourself up about it. We are all in very different stages of things. And today I feel great. Tomorrow, I might cry for 90 minutes because sometimes that happens and that's life. But accept where you are on your journey and know that, like Des said, there are people that will join you and be part of your tribe. Just be brave and bet on yourself. And I look forward to meeting y'all who join the UPTOWN Collective.
Yes, everything you said was beautiful and great. And I can't believe this is happening. It's over. It happened so fast. And now I'm like, I want to sit here for another hour, but that just means there'll be more. And we'll hopefully on the other side be able to meet you guys in person, which I'm excited about. But I'm really excited to have more of these conversations. And I'm just new beginnings. I'm just really open and excited about new beginnings.
New beginnings with this new tribe. This is a new tribe where we're going to support each other artistically and creatively. And hopefully we will provide classes and services that can help bring you into a space where if you want to work, if you want to keep learning, we will help you do that. We will help you figure out what's the next step, whether it's self-tapes or writers groups, who knows? We a collective, but we here, okay?
And that is a perfect segue, Renika. Thank you so much for joining us for this first conversation with the UPTOWN Collective. But we do want to hear from you as we build out these classes, as we build out these conversations. So there is a link to a survey. It takes like 2 minutes. You get a lot of different surveys about things, but please fill out this survey because it helps us plan the resources and the classes that you need in order to help you. And if you want to be a part of this collective, you are more than welcome. You are able, you are good enough, you are talented enough. Wherever you are right now, you have value and worth, and we welcome you. And we are so excited to meet you. We hope that you join us on Tuesday, February 23rd, where you will be able to come to a talk back with other artists. So this is pre-recorded, but that will be on Zoom. Sorry, that's what we're doing, but on Zoom with us and other artists, where we talk about what we've developed in this conversation, and we hear your feedback about how you're feeling and what you're experiencing. And if you want to get more information about the collective, please go to this very long URL, www.dreamcenterharlem.org/UPTOWN Collective. We look forward to so many more conversations.